Guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm your host, Miss KK, and this is The Wave, your weekly show on all things money. On this show, we get to dissect topics related to personal, family, and business finances, and our hope is that by the time we get to the end of this series, you'll be better equipped to make sound financial decisions. If you are new here, thank you very much for stopping by. Please consider clicking the subscription button in the comment below so that you can be notified every time we upload a new video. And if you are already a subscriber, thank you so much for your awesome support. We like having you and interacting in the comment box below. So today we are almost getting to the end of our discussion for the week. Tomorrow is the last day. We only post Mondays to Thursdays, and we don't do anything over the weekend. On Sundays, we brainstorm the topics for the next week. And today I want to speak about a very exciting concept, which is planning for your travel. And it's going to be continued in more details next week when we speak about wedding finances. But today I want to just speak onto the concept of what do you really need to consider when budgeting or when planning for a trip. This is in light of the amazing NWR deals that are currently on the run, or that are currently being promoted. So NWR has come out to offer discounts to their amazing hotels and various accommodation, and I think the offer is valid until somewhere in October. And last year they ran a similar deal on Black Friday in November, and a lot of people took up the deals, and it was so sad that I think that deal was even valid until the end of June. And there were so many people that were selling their vouchers because they just couldn't redeem the vouchers. And I think for a lot of these people, when they were booking for this trip, they were looking at, oh, accommodation is so cheap, but they're not looking at what are other costs that you need to take into consideration when planning for a trip. And that's what I want us to talk about today, so that if you are participating in the the new deals that are coming up, you are informed about the various costs, and so that you can also, if you think traveling is so expensive, so that you can also start considering what's the best way to start budgeting. So as for me, I was always into traveling, but I mainly traveled for work, and because of that, I never really worried about plane ticket. I've never paid for a flight ticket, even if I've taken over flights. Most of the travels was work related. I never had to pay for a car rental before. It was always work related until last year when we really started doing some personal travel. And that's when I started finding out how car rentals things really work. How much do car rental costs? What is this Airbnb option that is available that has made accommodation affordable, and so forth, and how to even book a trip through a travel agent. And that's when I also got my awesome friend system that really created this whole honeymoon trip for us, which was exciting. And I'm going to speak so much about it again sometimes next week. But in this video, I just want to look at what are the key considerations if you are looking to buy that NWR voucher. Very exciting deals. So what you need to think to yourself is that a trip is going to have a few costs. It's going to have the cost to book the trip. It's going to have the cost to get you to the trip. It's going to have the cost to maintain you on the trip, and it's going to have the cost to bring you back to where you started. So normally, if you are to start off, if you are really booking a local trip, and like say you are participating in this NWR deal, it's so much easy because you can just call NWR and maybe make an EFT or direct deposit or whatever the case may be, and you don't have to pay anybody to make for you reservation. But if you're going to be planning a long trip, like the honeymoon trip that we did with my husband earlier this year, that is not really a trip that you want to do yourself, because it's a lot of admin, unless you have the time to find which load is cheaper, to find what is the best route, to find where you can book your massage, etc, etc. So that thing takes a lot of time, so it's much easier to get it done by someone, and the booking fees are not quite excessive. I was actually surprised at how much sister charged us to actually put together that trip. So that's the one consideration. If you're doing it yourself, there's no cost of organizing the trip. If you're doing it through someone, you have to pay an admin fee to that person to create for you that trip. Okay, that's the first thing. Then the cost to get you to the trip. The cost to get you to the trip would normally be, are you going to take public transport to get there? Are you going to take maybe a pooled transport? Maybe, like the group tours that sister does. She actually organizes the transport, and the people just hop onto the bus from one location to another. So that means And it's also part of the cost if it's already an organized trip. So are you going to maybe use the pooled or an organized car? Or are you going to drive your own car? If you're driving your own car, in that case, it's just the petrol that you need to get there. And or are you renting a car? And I'm going to speak more into car rentals in another video. But a rental car, really, you just need to pay for the rental fee plus the refundable deposit. And it's also awesome, we didn't have to pay for the refundable deposit. But anyhow, just because we booked it through here, so we didn't have to pay the refundable deposit. But yeah, so that's the thing. So for the cost to get you there is either your own transport, public transport, carpooling, or a rental car. So you need to factor into those costs. And then you also need to understand fuel efficiency for your car, because we nearly slept in the desert when we're going to Terrace Bay, but that's another story. So obviously, if your car is fuel efficient, and looking at the distance that you're going to be driving, your budget would be either larger or smaller depending on your facts and circumstances. So now you've got the venue. You get to the venue, then the next thing is your stay. The cost to stay there. The cost to stay there will of course be your accommodation costs and your food costs. So normally most of the accommodation, if it's a B&B, that means it's including breakfast, but it doesn't include dinner and lunch. If it's a full-blown, hotel or whatever, you might have all 3 meals included, or you might be on the cheaper end of the spectrum where you are booking an Airbnb, no breakfast, you are actually just taking takeaway. So in that case, you need to budget for the accommodation and budget for the food, depending on whether it's included or not, and also the activities that you are going to be doing on the trip. So obviously some of those things we don't think about. Now you are in Mokuti, staring at each other in the eyes. People are going for game drive. You don't have the money to go to the game drive because you didn't think about the experience in Mokuti is incomplete without the game drive. So do consider the cost of you making that trip awesome. And lastly is also, and if you are like me that likes bringing gifts from trips or like taking souvenirs, I normally would buy a few things to take home, and then I also need to budget for that. And lastly is obviously your cost to get you back, and in that case will just be the same way you came, and the petrol cost to get you there, or plus if you have to now return the car rental, you get your deposit back. So when we went to Henty's Bay, actually not Henty's Bay, Terrace Bay, we paid a deposit for the car rental, then we immediately got it just when we returned the car. And obviously some car rental will require you to wash the car, so just have enough cash to take the car to the car wash, fill it up, because if you get a rental car, you get it on full tank, you need to take it back with full tank, fill it up and take it back. So really, before you buy that NWR voucher, or before you buy any Black Friday voucher that is giving you a cheaper accommodation, look at it in the bigger picture. Look at it in the bigger scheme of things. Will you be able to afford this trip, or can you perhaps delay the trip? I personally think the Black Friday deals, the NW deals are amazing, because if you look at the accommodation cost of those lodges before those discounts, it's quite excessive. So if you are planning to travel, you can obviously make use of these deals. You just need to make sure that you are budgeting and you're making the most of your trip. So that was about it from today's discussion. Very light, very just high up in the air. But next week we're going to look into more details about the trip, the cost of the trip of the honeymoon, and the cost of the trip of this trip that we recently took to Terrace Bay, and give you more guidance on the topic. That was about it from today's discussion. Thank you so much and stay blessed. Bye bye.